What a bunch of crap, guys. I'm not a huge sports guy, but I just read this article. Tom Brady, who plays for New England, Tom Brady wants to play against Minnesota, team called the Vikings. New England is not against Minnesota this year. That's the only team that Brady wants to play. Some kind of a personal beef. I didn't get the full story. Well, Brady's going to solve the problem because he's going to go play for the Rams. The Rams are scheduled to play Minnesota, who is who Brady wants to play. So he's going to go play for the Rams. They're telling me he can't do it. What kind of crap is that? I'm not talking about he's going to go do something. He's going to go be the linebacker. He's a quarterback for New England. He's going to go be the quarterback for the Rams so that he can play the Minnesota, who New England didn't get on their schedule. That makes perfect sense. Why are they telling him he can't do that? Who are they to lock him down to New England? This doesn't make any sense. It's the same position. Quarterback versus quarterback, but he gets the schedule that he wants to play, and he's only going to do it once. By the way, one time. Get this Minnesota thing out of the way. Getting something special offered to him. Why are they not letting him do that? Oh, wait a minute. You don't think that's a good idea? Oh, wait a minute. You don't think that makes sense at all? Oh, wait a minute. I'm looking at this all wrong. And obviously, New England is not going to let their starting quarterback go and play for the Rams. I'm wrong here? But the Rams going to play Minnesota. Brady wants to play Minnesota. How come you don't understand that? Oh, it doesn't make sense. He's just not going to get to play Minnesota, or maybe they can do it next year. We'll see how things work out, or somebody else who he works under, who takes and makes the decisions, has decided they're not going to play the Vikings for whatever reason. That's none of your goddamn business. And Chael's looking at this wrong, huh? Really? Do you see the problem with fighters who are with an organization and they want to go fight in a different organization? Do you see the problem? And do you see that this is a unique problem as far as getting a narrative, because you sound like an idiot if you even say it. But for some reason in our space of MMA, you can sound like an idiot. You generally won't even be caught because you're going to be heard by and judged by other idiots. A number of fighters, of which names I will leave out of pure grace, which is very out of character for me. I must like these guys. Are trying to fight in other organizations, but moreover can't figure out why they can't. How come they are not allowed? Why should we not be able to go? Do you see fundamentally the problem with this? Because if you don't, you're simply not an objective person. In all fairness, how do you think that these names that have grown up and you guys love, how do you think they got to that spot? You know the answer. Sure you do. They started down at the dog track. They made their way to a real organization, worked their way onto a main card, got the power of television, the exposure of the media, and grew over time. It was a slow process. It's the exact same for everybody, right? Sure it is. So if you're two top guys that you spent all this time and effort, not to mention the skill, and very few people have it, I would put it at 5 men alive. I believe there's 5 men, and by men I do mean human, alive, that know how to promote and build an athlete to get the story out there, get the message, and eventually one day fill up the Mecca of Madison Square Garden. It's very rare skill. There's no library in the world you can check out a book. There's no college in the world you can major in or take a class on. Fight promotion. There's about 5 people out there that know how to do it. Why would they ever do it, and why would they ever start if somebody else can come in at the 11th hour and take the only commodity that they have and take them off the table and go and reap the reward? Why? Why would anybody do the amateur shows? Why would anybody do a regional program? Why would anybody do a territory? Why would anybody try to get on the national and ultimately the international stage? Why? What would your goal be? Who are you there to promote? You're going to pay guys way all the way up, which is a complete loss, only hoping for an ROI, and only 10% of the guys ever bring you an ROI, and those 10% of guys got to cover the spread for all the losers. And now, as that risk taker, known as the dirty, awful, rotten promoter, you can have somebody else come in and take your guys? You'd have guys that would even want to leave? Do you see my comparison with Tom Brady going to leave New England and going to the Rams? Do you see how silly, how unbelievable it wouldn't even be a conversation? But for some reason within the sport of MMA, it is. It's one that catches on. The expansion of the Ali Act. We all love Ali. So there's something if you bring in the word Ali that all of a sudden it looks good. The expansion of the Ali Act will stop the sport as you know it. Yes, you will have a power-hitting conglomerate somewhere that one time a year, and maybe, it surprised me, maybe twice a year puts on a mega fight. Not a mega fight card, not every single weekend, not anything that's sustainable whatsoever, but once to twice a year, they put on something pretty special. There could be 4 guys that would likely be the same guy if it was to be anything like boxing. It's going to be Floyd in this one against someone, and then Floyd again against another. So now 3 people got a paycheck of something meaningful instead of 22 people every single Saturday. Once a month, a massive, whole different level of business known as a pay-per-view. Just by example, who's going to get involved? It would stop the sport in its tracks. It would stop it overnight. Some tremendous problems with it that no other sport has to face, but no other sport has to face the dum-dums that write articles in this sport who have not called that out, who have not corrected it, who have not seen how completely unreasonable that is, and not by the promoter for the athlete to even make the ask, as though he did it on his own, as though he carried his own way, and as though somebody who got behind him, saw the idea, drove the image, worked day and night, does not get to participate in the one night that really could matter. It's shocking, it's stunning, it's dumb, it's illegal, it's rude. It's just simply not a polite thing to do. I don't know if there's anything that's happened in MMA that Vince McMahon hasn't had to deal with before. Lorenzo, Dana, very open, saying this is the model that we took and followed. So turning to professional wrestling and then looking back at MMA, even in the history and throughout time, you kind of knew where we were going to go in MMA if you studied wrestling. Very fair. Very great example. I realize that they're two different sports. I'm talking from the business side of things. Vince has had to deal with this too, but never with a guy that he had under contract. Never. Never would a guy Vince had under contract be asking to go somewhere else. Would he have somebody talking to him? That is a federal crime, by the way. It's called interfering with a contractual agreement. Guys like George St. Pierre, who have been offered matches with Oscar De La Hoya, that's a crime. George should not even know that offer exists. That offer should not have been made. It is illegal. And Dana takes it on the chin, time after time, takes it on the chin. It's rude. Anybody that would ask him, not only are you showing a lack of intelligence or respect to the business, but now you're being rude, because it's one of the two. And in all fairness, 10 out of 10 times that I've heard, it is a lack of intelligence. The guys don't look at it the way I just said it. They don't have any idea. They don't know how they got to this position. They don't know why the world wants to tune in and see them fight. They're just simply, it's not what they do. It's not what they had an interest in, and they didn't know. Okay. In all fairness, okay. And the 10 out of 10 that I've seen are just dumb. But if you're not, if you did know and you tried to do it anyway, you're rude. That would be a very rude, very unethical thing to do. The only thing that doesn't make it unethical is that you didn't have the information, which means you didn't have the intent, and I understand that. I do understand that. I'm attempting to explain that now. But a promoter has a whole bunch of risks, nothing else. Every contract he's got is a risk. They're all liabilities. I have to give you 3 fights a year. I must, or I got to write a check anyway. Okay, great. How many fighters do I have? 556. Okay, great. How many months are there in a year? Okay, well, how many weekends are, you start breaking down the math of how many guys do I have to put on a card legally and find some way to pay. It's a tremendous liability, but you have one asset, which is that 10% of those guys somewhere over time will have a night that can bring in enough to not only cover the spread of their career, but to help out for the rest of the guys that are also filling up the card with like-minded goals and dreams. And never once would Vince ever have to deal with a guy. And there's been plenty of guys that said, I think I can get a better thing out there, Vince. please release me. Please consider firing me. Please consider cutting me. But they didn't have any more info than that. They were also willing to take a risk, and that has happened. Never has a guy said, I can go headline a pay-per-view against this opponent on this night for this amount, because it's illegal to even have those conversations. Nobody's ever approached Brady while he's signed to New England to go and throw the ball around for the Rams. And they never would. And had this been found out within the sport of football, this would be huge news, with a story being the Rams illegally contacted Tom Brady. In the sport of MMA, where they don't have the intelligence to see why it's problematic, and they don't have the sense to know it's against the law, the story continues to live on.